in last night. I was in Vegas with my daughter at an archery tournament. And our flights were delayed, canceled because of all the snow into Manchester. So we landed about 1 o'clock this morning.
Well, go ahead.
Exhausted.
Okay, 7 o'clock, I open the meeting, but before I open the meeting, as a courtesy to one of our member, Peter Casaneri passed away, and it's our duty to say a moment of silence. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add on to that, Gino, if
Yeah.
you would, I'm not sure, he was supposed to be, the wake was supposed to be out of Badges, but I have not seen anything out of Badges.
Right, I was told by a good source that it will be at the Badger, but they are waiting for more family to get together to find out when the wake is gonna be.
Well, the son lives in Ohio, I think so.
Yeah, probably they, yeah.
But other than that, I don't have any board member reports. We got a bunch of minutes.
Okay, you wanna take advantage of reading the minutes?
John didn't have any.
Nothing, nope, nothing for me.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, so the only other, I saw an email again from
Right.
one of the,
Oh, the 380
one of the abutters over at
on the,
Holleran.
Holleran,
And
yes.
any
any,
communication
at the
from,
moment, no, no, we don't have any, but I understand that communication was made to Shelley,
okay.
okay?
We can't do January 10th.
I guess not.
Well, you
Thank you for
can
coming.
because Aaron's here. I'm sorry. I wasn't here, I just thought we only had 2 people, but we got 3. So you can do January 10th.
Okay, I'm supposed to.
We even have one for July 26th.
Wait a minute, we got you.
We got August
Don't
23rd.
be laughing, Jonathan.
Come on, we got January 10?
Oh, we got August 23rd.
We got too many, no, we got nothing to do. at
Got
the
something to
moment.
do now.
Let's start reading it.
I'm not sure if anybody's going to remember exactly what happened on July 26th, so I'm just going to make a motion that we accept the minutes of July 26th, so we make it legal.
I
July
second.
26?
Yeah.
I guess we could make it legal. I think, then we, August 23rd.
Have a
there was
motion and a second, Gino?
Yes, we entertain a motion.
We had a motion.
Okay, a
and
second. All in favor?
I,
All right, she wasn't here.
No, she was there, all right.
So that's 3 ayes, right?
Okay, right.
I'd actually make a motion then to approve the minutes as written of August 23rd, 2016.
Let's see, where did you see those, John?
That was right on the top of mine.
Oh, it's right on the top, let me see.
That was like the first one.
Yeah, give you mine, here. Got it?
Oh, yeah, went right by it too quick. I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
What about July 26?
we've already done that
We
one.
just did that one.
Okay, anything else besides that? I'll
We
look
got
at-
January 10th, I wasn't here.
Oh, yeah, don't we, January 12. What about January 12?
Well, that's January 12, 2016.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm gonna, same thing, I'm gonna make a motion too on this, and I don't know how these all got missed, but gonna make a motion that we accept the minutes as shown for January 12th, 2016.
Mr. Peter, I don't think you were there.
Yeah, you weren't a member of the board
Oh, yeah.
at that point. We may have to table that because it was just
Okay,
you
we'll
and
table
you and
that.
I. Brad's not here.
Yeah,
Right.
you will.
So
Table.
we'll table
Sorry
that
about
one.
that, missed
No,
It's
that.
all right. I appreciate your desire to move it along.
Yeah. Anything else? That's
We
it?
have, no, we do have January 10th, 2017.
Okay.
That's within our wheelhouse, I think.
Whatever. Okay, I got it right here. Okay, okay, we also have to, it's just you and I.
Oh,
Aaron.
Oh,
oh, no, Aaron's here.
That's right, yeah. January 10th.
Oh,
Did you read
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Is any correction that to be made?
No,
Okay. Entertain a motion?
yeah. Move to approve the minutes for January 10, 2017.
Entertain a second?
I second him.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we all have, all together, except for the 12. All right.
Yep. Get that out of the way.
All right.
Little surprise there, huh?
All right. Now we just wait for a second.
So there's some other thing, what is this, MHOA membership renewal? What's that about? It's in our packet.
See. I'm not sure. It's, I'm gonna guess it's Massachusetts Health
The chicken away.
Associates or something.
Okay.
You want to read that?
What does it say up the top? Massachusetts Health.
Health
Officers
Officers Association.
I'm not sure that anybody ever joined it. I don't know what this story is on it. Director, agent, inspector, nurse, member.
There's no,
Uh,
I don't see any communications other than
Oh, we
this.
table it.
I
Yeah.
don't ever, for the 9 years that I was on, I don't ever remember seeing this, so
Okay, all right,
it's either something new or.
Can we
right.
table it and then find out more about it?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just tell her to bring it up.
Yeah.
It was, the way she had written it up, Aaron, was that if anybody's interested, then, sign up. But-
Okay.
So you really don't have to table it, it's.
Yeah, I
not a-
just wanted to see what it is.
Yeah,
You would have to get an explanation.
I certainly. Okay, so, yeah, so one other thing before we move on, we still have a couple more minutes. So Nicole, right, this was the email I was talking about from Nicole Bergeron on January 20th. She hasn't heard back from the Board of
380.
Health about the composting and et cetera at Halloran. So she sent that.
I got that email too.
Right. So has there been a communication back to her about
It's
anything?
funny. No.
I had talked to.
I talked to Shelley, she said, communication from Richie. Richie told me that he communicate with Shelley about that.
So again, I guess, did anybody respond to Nicole about that? Is the
No.
question I have.
Well, because I mentioned it to Shelley that probably you should talk to her, but you're gonna be gone.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the thing is, she wants to see those piles moved, and there's really no sense. They're in there right now, there's,
yeah,
it's kind of,
so,
that's kind of what we,
I don't-
but no one will let her know.
that's sort of my point is, she contacted
Can you
the
get in,
board on December 1st. She
can you get in
contacted.
touch with Shelley tomorrow?
Sure,
Let her know,
all right.
please,
Well,
because
Shelley should send her a note,
I'll be in
too.
Arizona tomorrow.
Good for you. Good for you.
Should we call them ahead
Don't
and let
tell
them
my
know
enemy
you're
over
coming?
there. Don't tell anybody over there. Pardon me?
Should we call ahead and let them know that you're coming?
No.
Get the force out and build the wall faster.
Yeah.
All right, I'll email Shelley about
All
this. Okay.
Okay, so we're almost 10 past. Should we have a discussion on parcel 123 and 124 and 126 Oak Hill?
Oak Road.
Oak Road, I'm sorry. But I was looking at them before I said Oak Road. I should have concentrated on the paper.
Could I, before you start, just kind of get me up to the level of where you are? These were 3 lots? How are you doing, Mike, by the way?
Good, how are you?
3 lots that you're going to develop, each one individually, or these are all lumped to one?
All lumped into one.
All lumped into one? Okay. And we had issued a permit before.
With once, we had 2 lots that were together.
The answer is yes, you issued a permit with
one?
a condition for variance for the wall, which would.
Okay.
And then we initially.
And that was for that whole parcel together,
No,
lots?
no, we bought
two
an
lots.
additional parcel of property in the meantime. So we increased the square footage from 10,000 square feet to
16,000.
So we are gonna
16.
combine
We already
all
did, yep.
these.
Yep.
We already
Okay.
bought 'em.
Yep.
Can combine them. But did the new parcel have anything to do with the septic system, basically?
You can,
Sorry to kind of, I'm just
That's all right.
trying to get me to where you guys are before we even.
we had a 10,000 lot that had a essentially a wall wrapping completely around it. We, on an additional parcel, moved the house off of the 10,000 square foot
So
lot.
this is the parcel we purchased, this one from here to here.
So we moved the house onto that parcel.
How big is the lot in acreage?
It's 16,000
16,000 square feet.
And what's that in acreage? I'm sorry.
That's about a third.
An acre is
Yeah,
43,560, but a builder's acre is 40, so we're just under a half acre.
Okay.
So,
All right, so, go ahead, sorry, Jonathan.
I didn't know there was a difference.
Builder's acre in Littleton is 40,000 square feet.
Okay, interesting. All right.
So what we've done is we combined the three parcels into one. We went before requesting a variance for, the wall was 5 feet high at some spots, and we were told to go to ZBA and get a variance from them. So in the meantime, I had come up with another design with a drip irrigation, a drip dispersal system, which can lower the wall an additional foot. So now we're talking about a 4-foot wall. We had some discussions with Jim Gariffi, and Jim said, yeah, but you need to prove that in the event that the system failed in the future, you could still build the wall, because you'd need a variance from ZBA. So we went to ZBA, we got them to issue a building permit for the 5-foot wall.
Jonathan, could you,
Yeah.
would you mind if I interrupted you?
Yeah.
The thing, like, but you were talking about the wall being 4 feet, and then if it failed, Jim Greffrey says you guys have the ability to go up another foot?
Yes.
Is that meaning that you're going back to the conventional system
No.
if it failed? See, this was, it's
So
confusing.
here's the thing.
Okay,
Title V requires you, in order to use an innovative and alternative type system.
Right.
That you have to prove that you can fit a conventional system on the lot in its place. So in the event that it failed, it doesn't necessarily say that you need to tear the IA out and put in a conventional system. You would need to put a new system in. It could still be
Right.
another IA.
and I think we all agree with that.
Right, so, but the regulation still says that you need to have the ability to put a conventional system in. So, in order to get that availability, we got a variance from ZBA to construct a 5-foot wall. We are not constructing a 5-foot wall. We're only constructing a 4-foot wall. We have the ability, in the future, if the next homeowner in, 25, 40 years decides that this system is, at its design capacity, and now we want to upgrade it to a conventional Title V system, there is a variance on file that says that they have the ability to build a 5-foot wall.
But doesn't that variance run out?
The
Isn't
variance
that-
runs out, but it's already been issued. You've already established hardship with the ZBA, and it would be arbitrary and capricious for them to turn that around. You've already established hardship. You've already shown, based upon the lot topography, the lot shape, and the lot soils, that you need the variance, and they issued the variance. You can't overturn that just by saying, we don't want you to build the wall. They've made the decision. So,
Which I can see that the issue here, it looks like we're putting the cart before the horse, and then taking the cart back and putting the horse, it's.
yeah, as long as the horse is in front, we're good. So,
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
What are you asking for?
from you,
Yeah.
we're asking for a variance
This is a discussion.
to, it's actually not yes, it is, it's a variance for, the construction of the wall, which, is part of the breakout fill. The breakout, grading within 5 feet of the property line is your regulation, Regulation 27. So in order to build that wall in the location that it's shown, we need a variance to build it in that location.
Which is right up to the
Which we
property
were
line.
granted.
We had, initially, we had another lot with we had it granted prior with just a 10,000 square foot lot.
Yes.
Previously, with the
So-
condition of a variance from zoning board of appeals approval of a 5-foot wall.
Right, and so ZBA said, well, we understand, but see if you can get another parcel and make this a little bit more conforming. So the Fields went out, they purchased another lot.
Yeah, it looks
They
good.
did
I mean,
not
from what it
increase the
was,
number
you
of
get-
bedrooms.
Yeah,
Initially,
So
we
it's
tried to
still
buy
the
the
same
parcels on that road right
small
there as
system,
well from
small
the town.
house.
that Ivy.
No, that's Narcissus. Remember
Narcissus, yeah.
down?
So we, initially, we had, we were gonna buy those 3 parcels. The numbers didn't work out. You know, and so then the other parcel came available and we bought that instead. It just, it makes more sense. It keeps the house 30 feet off the lot line in the front, 16 off the sides. Removes the retaining walls in the front and on the side of the downhill side of the
Right,
lot.
yeah.
It's a better design from the original one that we had.
Yeah, you got a lot more area too to work with, that's for sure. But the wall now is gonna be right off the property line, right? Looks like it's about a foot.
Yep.
To put off the line, yep. Which we got a variance from zoning board of appeals for.
So the health agent is recommending that it be compliant with a 5-foot wall, right?
His view is that you shouldn't put the onus onto the new owner in the event that the system failed.
So he's
Builds.
recommending a 5-foot wall?
Yeah, we're not building a 5-foot wall. We're just not. It's not.
Not gonna make you.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense to build a 5-foot wall and then have a foot of it showing in the air.
Are there abutters here? Can we hear from the abutters? I think there are some abutters here.
It's up to Gino
Well,
to,
first of all, let him finish.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So the variance that has been voted upon by the ZBA gives the ability to rebuild that wall for an extra foot. The wall's been designed so that it can be a foot higher without structurally changing the wall. It's just adding the blocks on top of it. But to make it a foot high and show a foot of block for no reason, and then the system is a foot lower than the wall, is... it's
why
a
were you so
waste of all
high,
those
high water
blocks.
level? Must have been high water level. What's your?
Yeah, so the groundwater was 24 inches, 18 inches.
Oh, yeah.
Modeling?
Yep.
And how big is the house? What's the square footage on the house?
1,500.
1,500 square feet, it's a 2-bedroom. I have the plans in the truck if you want me to get them.
Peter, would you be kind enough to read that, what Jimmy says? On the
What Jim
bottom.
says?
Yeah, on the bottom.
Well, he goes into the applicant is presenting you with 2 septic designs for this lot. One uses a conventional trench system with a retaining wall that requires a special permit due to its height, over 4 feet. So once you get over 4 feet, you have to go to
Let's see,
the...
this is the original one right here. That's the original septic
Now,
design.
let me finish this and then we take a
Yeah,
look at
please
that.
go into, give him a chance to say something.
Okay, where was I? Okay, and the other uses an alternate leaching system, drip dispersal system, which allows a reduction in the wall height since the system has a lower profile. 0.5 inches versus 18 inches. I don't know what you mean by that. But both systems comply with Title V and your regulations with a variance and approval granted, but given its low profile, the applicant would like to install the drip dispersal system. The use of an alternative system requires proving that a conventional system can be designed for the site, which was done by the first design, which we know. though that design requires a special permit for the height of the retaining wall and a special permit approval, you should say, will expire in 1 year. It would be this inspector's opinion that since proving a conventional system is a requirement for using an alternative system, I should say, and the conventional system requires a special permit approval for a retaining wall, which expires in a year, this provision of the alternative system approval is not met because the conventional system design will no longer be in compliance as the retaining wall approval this design relies on expires in a year if not built. But he's going back to what we talked about initially, from what I gather, that he thinks that you go ahead and put in, to see if I am understanding this, that we give you sign the permit, you go in and put the drip system in with a 4-foot wall, and that fails, somewhere down the line, that if you go back to the conventional system, the permit is expired, and that you can't put the conventional in. It's kind of like,
But again, as I understand it, there's no requirement to put a conventional system in again. If
Right,
this
that's right.
innovative system fails, you can put the same system in.
Right.
Jim had,
Or you go back to ZBA and say, all right, now we're gonna put the conventional system in because this didn't work. So can we have the,
Well,
reissue the permit for the wall? That, I mean, so I'm gonna state out, I've read this a few times.
let me
I'm
finish it up.
phenomenally confused by what Jim,
Yeah,
and I
I know.
completely disagree with what Jim played. It's ridiculous.
Hang on, John, let me finish up, because Jim, I'm not going to go into the first part of this. He says the first would be to install a retaining wall at the proper height to satisfy the grading requirements for the conventional system. So he's saying, put the 5-foot wall in. Whether they install a conventional or drip dispersal system, this ensures that the septic system approved for the site is always in compliance with Title V. This would be my recommendation of the Board of Health. The second is to allow the alternative system design to be built with the understanding that compliance with state requirements for a conventional system would require would require a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a taller retaining wall. This potentially puts the new owner in a situation where they must request an approval for a hardship created by the builder. So that's what he isn't too thrilled about this. But I agree with John. You've gone in once, you proved that you could put a conventional system in to keep the costs down and keep the looks down and everything we like to do with retaining walls. Now you're going to put in a drip thing, but now he's worried that if it fails, but it could be any system that fails.
And, so if he wants, so we put something in the file so that a new owner is aware of the situation.
Well, that's what he suggested,
Yeah, and then
too.
I guess that's fine.
You could put this letter in the file.
Yeah.
We will.
And in the minutes of the meeting after approved, but.
We also have a decision from the
So-
Board of Appeals, that can go in there as well.
Okay, now would you please state your name, please?
Yes, I'm Cami Bean. I live 27 Oak Road, so we're near butt.
Would you speak a little louder for us to understand what you're saying, honey?
Yes,
Stand
I
up.
will.
Stand
Absolutely.
up.
You want me to stand up? Okay, great. Yeah, sure. So these guys came to the zoning board 2 weeks ago, and they wanted to put it, well, they had to get this rigmarole, I don't know how else to, the two versions. The neighbors were very opposed to the 5-foot retaining wall, both in the original plan and in this one. So these guys said, we're not going to build the conventional system. And they said that they would put that in writing, that they would not build the conventional system with a 5-foot high wall. I'm surprised that the alternative system still has a 4-foot wall, though, because at the zoning board, I thought it was a 2-foot wall. I mean, that we all said, oh, that's okay, because the neighbor, the street wanted to keep the look of the street and not have these big walls. which is what's happening with all the septics. We all have sloping.
That side
We
right
all
there,
have,
that
it's
side
a
right
high
there.
water level, all that.
Right, and I live at the end of Oak, and I know how wet that is, and we have an alternative system in our property, so,
it goes
you know,
to
I just want to
4 in the
register the
back.
concern of the neighborhood here. We don't want a 5-foot-high wall, that
No
was
wall there.
very
So-
loudly stated.
So,
There's only one section that's 4 feet.
Yeah.
Most of it's
And is that back on the property
It's
line?
on the
Okay,
back.
Yeah.
so, okay.
yeah,
And
so it
that's what we
starts,
agreed. I
it starts
thought
at 2 foot
that- Okay,
as you're looking at the property on the left side. It starts at
Coming from Lonesome
2,
Street.
yeah, and then in the back, it goes up, it's
so
a
it's just
4 foot.
on the wooded side of Narcissus Square, right, okay.
And then it looks like it comes back down
Goes back down.
to 3 foot or so on the other side.
Yeah.
Only one section, John, that's about a 10-foot area in the middle.
It steps down.
Yeah.
Because it's segmented wall,
Okay,
8-inch,
Wall.
okay.
so it steps down a couple times.
Yeah, so we were better with that as opposed to having these high walls where you're gonna start creating this waffle effect on the street.
Thank you, Annie. Do we have anybody else, would you like to say something? Anybody else, they are concerned about the wall, whatever?
Is there any way to build it with a lower wall? Or
No, that's the best I can do, is this plan.
It's the high water level that they have to get above.
Yeah.
That's causing that, the height, in order to get it retained in, you need that bigger wall. So that's, it's all dictated by where the high water mark is.
Yeah. Where's the water table there? Do you know?
It was 24 and...
Water table. Well, that's the modeling. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering where the water table
Oh, it
is.
was 6 feet?
So, it's a tight silt
I
up top.
don't have my
so
glasses on.
It's just pooling.
Use mine. Yeah.
But,
I didn't see it on here.
so it's gonna be the bottom,
Keep it.
This right
all
here?
of the things, so seepage at 72, 67,
65.
60, 70. Thanks, Gino.
You need them?
I got mine
good.
right here, Ginger.
Okay.
$15 an hour. Anybody else like to say anything from the about? We have a lot of customs over here. I mean, you didn't come to see us because,
No,
They're the
they did.
nicest.
They'd rather be here on Valentine's
Okay.
Day than anywhere else. So I'm a little confused by the agenda. It says discussion, we're not approving anything, this
Right.
isn't a
It's
hearing
only a
and
discussion.
approving.
Tonight.
Permits are here.
The permits are here.
Here, so we're all good with that, right? This was just a
There's
discussion.
actually 2 permits that were here. One was issued, what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, so the variance was already approved.
Right.
What we're looking for is just to get the permit signed.
Yeah, okay.
But the
No.
comments that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why I was
the-
confused.
yeah, the comments that were,
I was
brought
confused
up,
by
I needed to
Jim's
come.
comments
Yeah.
about, I don't recommend approving this, and that
Yeah,
seemed
it's already
odd.
approved, you know.
yeah.
That's why I was confused. That's why I brought it up. Yeah,
This
yeah,
right here,
yeah.
There's one here that was a 10,000 square foot lot, and that was approved with condition of zoning board of appeals.
Right.
But then we came back with another design.
Some
It,
some adjustment.
you know, we removed the house setbacks and additional
follow
land area. and,
Whatever we recommended.
They did a
um,
much better setup.
It works out a lot better. Costs more money, but I think in the end, it's a better configuration for the lot and house.
Jonathan, you were saying that the wall is 2 feet off the property line here?
Yeah.
Just before you said it was a foot. What is it?
Good.
It's a foot. It's a foot off the property line.
As this says here, your local regulation and request. It's construction of retaining wall within 2 feet of the property
Yeah,
line.
it's 2, not 1.
2.
Is it?
Yeah, it's 2.
We went through that at the ZBA meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, then it's a 1 foot wall
Well,
then,
I personally
instead of a 2 foot wall then, right?
think it's okay. You know, you've done due diligence. I think Jim has a point of making sure that something is in the file, you know, to
Get something.
let the buyer know that there's a possibility of something way off in the future to go to 5-foot wall, to add a foot to
Yeah,
the
I mean,
wall.
I would agree with that, but I don't think that impacts moving forward.
No, what we're
So-
looking at here, you know, I'm just, you know, going along with what he's thinking of the future of.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, we could
I
have-
don't know
Talk-
how we handle this. I guess I'd make a motion that we sign the permits with the caveat that we put something in the file, just to talk about the 4 to 5 feet, something like that.
So we entertain a motion then?
Well, it is in the form of a motion. I'm not sure it's the thing, because it's not a hearing, but we have to make it legal in order to do it. You have to
So
kind of make a
isn't
motion.
our signatures on the permit what makes it legal?
Yeah,
Probably.
technically.
Right,
But, you
so-
know, we've added something to it. the
No,
fact
that's
that-
true.
So,
I mean, can we also put something in there about putting the drip system in? I mean, that's the preferred, we don't want the.
well, that's what's
conventional
going
system.
in.
Yeah. okay.
That's the permit we'd sign, is for
We
that
want it on
system.
record so they know that that's what we're putting in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, it'll be captured in the minutes, which will be
Okay.
part of the permit
Yep.
record too.
Yeah, I'll just make sure that I'll talk to Shelley, make sure that there's something that goes into the records about the retaining wall, and that the abutters would like to make sure that it's the drip. And that's what we got here.
That's
So,
what we agreed to.
yeah.
yeah, and that we don't, that, yeah, the abutters didn't want a 5-foot high retaining wall, that's.
So,
So we
I
have a
made
second?
a motion, I guess.
And then I will second that.
Thank you.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Thank you very much for your time.
So we'll
I'll
sign-
pick those up tomorrow.
I don't know if they got them to sign that, but that one's already, I think that was already signed.
Didn't mention it, but they both have to be signed.
Okay.
I'll take this apart. Okay, pass that down.
All right.
Thank you, Peter, thank you, John.
Thank you.
You guys,
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Do they need that, or is?
and then where's the other one? This one?
Yeah.
Okay. You might have to leave something.
When's your next, we got a hearing, Ivy
Yeah.
Road.
Yeah,
Here you go, sir.
Lake Road. Who's there? Wilson.
Russell,
How you doing, Wilson?
long time no see, Russell.
Yeah.
What's the matter? Don't you like us no more?
That's not true, and you know it.
Okay.
Excuse me. Look, Russ.
Okay.
So I brought big plans and little plans. There's a small one there.
So we got one first, then you got the second.
I got some larger sheets here, too.
What's the big one there? There's a big one.
So this,
Before you start, Russ, just to get me on
Ivy Road.
the page here, I think there was you hadn't gone to conservation yet, right, to
no,
get approval? Okay. So that's still,
that's the next step, yep.
that hasn't been done or anything?
50 feet.
Okay.
Have you flagged the wetlands at all?
We found some wetland flags out there.
Yeah, that was probably part of the construction of the treatment wetlands. Have you sent someone out to flag them?
Yeah, not yet.
You gonna do that?
If the conservation asks us to do that, we'll do it. Because they might know more about these flags than I do, so.
Yeah. So that's the treatment wetlands that
Mhm.
they constructed next to Long Lake.
So this is at the corner of Lake and Ivy. And based on the soil testing we did there, we can fit a 2-foot, a 2-bedroom house on a, about a 7,500 square foot lot, something in that area. And it's gonna need a wall, which is, I believe, 3 feet, 3.5 feet high, and room in the back to collect the drainage going down from the Ivy Road part of the lot to the rear toward the wetland flags. We're gonna put a system in that's gonna be a conventional system, two trenches, 56 feet long, and a 1,500 gallon, 2-compartment tank with a 500 gallon pump chamber.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm reading it now.
So I'll open up to discussion and go ahead, we'll go from there.
I see you showing 50 feet. I thought in our regulations it was 100. We had changed it at one time. You're probably right. Let me see here.
Well, it's 50 feet from flags that you're not sure what they mean, though. So, right, because you're measuring 50 feet, oh, you're measuring out,
Yeah, you measure out from
Okay.
the flags.
and then we don't know where the edge of wetlands are. So that's the unknown on this.
Well, they're definitely wetland flags.
Yeah, these are wetlands, but just knowing the property, I think you might be
They were
extending.
flagged by Ross Associates.
Yeah, so it's not flagged out here. You know, the extent of the wetlands isn't flagged, that's what you just said. So again, what I'm saying is that
Well,
it shows a 50-foot buffer, but we don't know where the wetlands are right now.
No, that's the problem.
That's the
See,
issue.
the problem here, too, is, again, we talk about the proverbial cart before the horse. And our regulations say that no soil absorption system shall be constructed in a 100-year flood zone. So we don't know if they consider that pond, that's there, the retention pond, I guess is what we call it, whether that would be considered a floodplain, or it would just be Long Lake. See, I'm not sure. That's the concern I'd have, is that you're doing a lot of work here, and you might go to conservation. I don't think I could vote for this until I saw what they were doing. You know what I'm saying?
as far as the floodplain goes,
Yeah.
there's no floodplain there. It's just wetlands.
Well, you got the pond, right?
There's Long Lake, and then there's,
You got the retention pond. And the thing is, I don't know what the wetlands regulations are, whether they consider that pond, a regular wetland, and does the 100-year floodplain apply to that pond?
well, no.
Well, I don't know.
A detention basin, it's usually, you go from where the elevation of the outfall is, when the water rises, if it rises in the detention basin, where it goes over, we always provide an overflow on detention basins. And it's from that point where you start measuring out the 50 feet, and then at your 100 foot.
Okay.
So if you
Yeah,
walk
so
down
I-
to the detention basin, it's not the highest bank, it's wherever the outfall in the, from the detention basin
Yeah,
is.
which would make sense.
And where these ribbons are, the detention basin's further down. It's not right where those ribbons are.
But we're still talking about giving a variance from the regulations.
No, the regulation as talks about a 100-year flood zone.
Yeah, but you're here looking for a variance for fill within the property line, right?
Right.
Within- So they're looking for a variance from the existing regulations.
Right.
And just given that they're so close to a wetland, when we give variances, we want to review the
Well, it
setting.
depends on where they're gonna put the fill and what he's doing. And if he's outside of the,
But I mean, the system, the project as a whole is adjacent to a wetland, and it's a treatment wetland that was put in by the Long Lake community. to treat groundwater. And so it's very tight soils, as Jim says, and the perk is slow, as he says. So I think we need to consider whether this is a situation where the board should be granting a variance. Because my understanding is when you grant a variance, you should be considering the situation and the conditions on the ground and potential for water contamination or degradation, environmental degradation.
Well,
Or health, too.
Part of their construction, though, will, you know, when they do that, they address that. They put up silt fences and.
Yeah, but
stuff
I'm
of that
talking
nature.
about, there's a reason why we have these regulations, and when we're giving a variance, first of all, this is green, this is a new property, it's not an upgrade. So that's a consideration when granting a variance. And then the other thing is the location. In this case, we're talking about a system that's draining directly into a wetland that drains directly into a pond that drains directly into the lake. And I think that we have to take a really good look at this to see if this is the kind of thing that we as a board want to grant a variance for,
But
from our existing regulations.
basically why we have, you know, filter property lines and things of that nature, and not just say, okay, it's 10 feet, or it's 5 feet, or it's 2 feet. Basically, we have that filter property line so that abutters that could come in and they could say, well, this is going to affect me if it comes right up to the 5 feet. So it gives flexibility to the Board of Health, you know, to see what the concerns are with abutters and, you know, with the people that want to build it. We really haven't got into, is this fill going to affect, if the fill, I don't even know where his fill is. What's your fill to the property line as far as the wetland property?
I believe that's 7 feet also.
And
So you
again,
got
we don't
7
know,
feet around the whole thing?
and we don't know where the wetlands are either.
No, well, that's what I've been
So,
saying
yeah.
before.
So that's the first thing. I just wanted to say, before you went any further, just have that conversation about you're asking for a variance in a situation where I think there are some abutters in the room or some people from the area who might have some thoughts about, you know, you're talking about the reason that we have laws and then variances is just as you just said, so people can come in and give their opinions. And in this case, I'm just saying that we've got kind of a perfect storm where you've got tight soils, poor drainage, and you have these other mitigating factors, not mitigating, but factors that make this specific location something that is highly likely to degrade the water quality in terms of health and environmental.
So a couple, I wonder, because Jim makes this point, and so help me on understanding this drawing. It says that the design appears to address surface drainage issue. The design provides swales along the side and directs the water to a low area beyond the septic system. So where are those swales he's talking about? Is it this?
Yeah.
That's what he's,
Could you show me those two?
I'm asking, is it, these are the swales he's talking about? And is it, so is the design that the drainage and runoff would be this way, or what's how's?
Yeah, it all goes down here, you know,
Right.
from I-4, so it would be going this way, and there's a big low area that we're gonna make.
It's a wetland. It's probably a wetland.
10 feet.
It's on our lot. It's not a wetland.
Well, we don't know where the wetland is yet.
I do,
Okay.
it's right where those wetland ribbons are.
But just, so that's the discussion, right? That's the contention and the unknown. But the known is, I'm asking about the known, and that's the design, because I'm not an engineer on this. The design is such that it's to draw the water this way. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's what I was trying to get and trying to understand. All right, good.
And you understand the location, right?
No, I understand the location.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if it's encroaching the wetland or not, or on it. That, it's possible it is, and as Jim said, you know, that needs to be discussed with the
We
commission.
don't know where the wetland boundary is. We do know it's hydraulically connected directly to the wetland.
Yeah.
We do know that. So,
Yeah, that's what
which
they.
is which is a separate issue.
Which is what they engineer for, depending on the
Well,
perk rates, that's all involved in that, perk rates and things of that nature.
Why do you say it's hydraulically connected to the wetland?
well.
There's
the
a big,
water-
there's a big
Water's
open
gonna-
space between the wetland and the lot.
You'll have 50 feet anyway, right?
It goes down
Yeah.
into the groundwater, and then it discharges into a low point. This is a drainage area, you just said it drained this way. So because the open water is here, that's just how groundwater works. It'll drain directly here and then out into the lake.
Surface water, you're talking.
No, groundwater. From
Well,
what you
it's-
just said, the surface water is draining this way, but groundwater's gonna drain that way too.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But
That's what I
that-
meant.
that
That's
doesn't
hydraulics.
mean That doesn't mean it's a wetland.
No, you asked me how it was hydraulically connected? So the water would come down and drain into this low point here, the groundwater.
Well, it does that now anyway.
Yeah, right, but there's no septic coming in.
I mean, the water for the whole street, for all the way from Goldsmith Street goes down through there.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? You can't tear all those houses down?
Right, but you don't have to build adjacent to it. Or let me rephrase that. You don't have to, the board doesn't have to grant a variance adjacent to it.
I understand that if you granted the variance, it would be subject to approval from the Conservation Commission.
That's the recommendation of Jim, yeah.
Anybody from, butter?
Sure. My name's Rudd Ham.
Yeah?
My wife Jan, we live at 11 Lake Drive, which is
Okay.
diagonally across from this
Yes.
park just uphill. If I might, about 22 years ago, we were before this board in order to, we had a house that we had bought, the Benham House. It was a camp
Oh, yeah.
with 7 additions on it, and it had a failed septic system. So we, as the homeowners, petitioned this board to replace the existing septic system and replace our house. We thought we had a good argument, and in fact, eventually it was granted. It was a long process. The board contended that it was new construction for a new house, and therefore we had to meet the new Title V requirements. This was in 95, 96, so they were tough. They were a good deal tougher back then, I think. So after a long process, the board suggested I solicit DEP's opinion, which I did. And they cited that, in fact, this is a great example of a replacement criteria because we had a septic system designed for the 3-bedroom house that had failed. We could replace the system.
Okay.
And the board agreed with that after a lot of discussion with an abstention, and then the balance of the members approved that. So because of that, we were granted a variance for the retaining wall within the 10 feet. In fact, it's about 6 feet from the property line.
And you don't have any problem, right?
We don't have any problems, no,
Thank you.
it's working well. The lot, in my opinion, is suited much better for a septic system than this lot is, but again, that's just my opinion. And I say that just to point out the difference of new construction versus existing construction.
Right.
There's no doubt in my mind that if I was trying to build something new before that board, it never would have passed. You know, it would have had to have 100% clean slate, no variances, and then it had a chance.
Right.
All right, but that was not the case. It was a replacement. We had the failed system, not too far from the wetlands, over the 100 feet, but not too far from the wetlands, and the town beach. So it was a good idea to replace it.
Thank you.
But just to go on a little bit, the plans here, you know, in addition to what I think is filled 4 feet from the foundation, and the retaining wall on the backside is 7 feet from the property line, you know, is a little bit beyond. To speak to the wetlands, you indicate the flags. Well, I couldn't find the flags down there. But if I go to the very edge of the retention basin, and I'm not talking about the wetlands, I'm talking about the retention basin, I measure approximately 60 feet up to the property line, which jives with the 50 feet plus 10 that is pretty close to what's showing on this plan. So I think that is showing the 50-foot buffer zone from the retention basin, and certainly not the bordering vegetated wetlands. During the construction of the wetlands park, and at that point, I, with many others in town, was involved with the Clean Lakes Committee, the Littleton Water Department, and the state with the demonstration grants in order to build that. And the plans, the grading plans, had the grade changing up to within 25 feet of the property line in question. So there was new planting, there was the crosswalk up within that zone. So I'd agree that certainly this board should request the opinion of the Conservation Commission as to what the Board of the Wetlands is, but, you know, I believe it's well beyond the, what's indicated as white flags, which is really the edge of the retention pond.
Yeah, so we don't know, really. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Glad to answer any other questions.
Anybody else?
Folks know the difference between, what they did is they allowed you to do what they should have done, because new construction is when you change room counts or add on. It's not necessarily, if you put a garage on, oh, that's new construction. It's
Yes.
bedroom count or
Right.
room counts. And that
Yes.
didn't change, so that's why
Right,
they
that
did the
that did not
thing.
change at all. And DEP's opinion on that was because it was an existing septic system on an existing developed
And
lot.
this would come under, and I'm sure, you know, Russ has looked at this, is this would all come under new construction. So
Yes.
with new construction, there's a lot of other factors involved in it, so.
Exactly, including, in
Lot
this case,
shot,
granting
understood
variance, which is,
You have any question?
I'm Ken Banks, 10 Lake Drive. We're right across Ivy Road from where this lot is. And we just, 7 years ago, so it came in front of the board, just like Rod did for his, but we had to do the same thing with the septic system. I did notice that, you know, originally we wanted the system lower in the ground, but obviously had to be higher, and it's actually higher than what we expected. My concern is, especially where the water moves, the groundwater in that area, I was very surprised that even though we had a drought this summer, there was always, seemed to be standing water in that area. My big concern is when you start raising all that up and putting the walls up, that the water coming down off the hillside as it is, that those King Road and Ivy there are private roads, and they get washed out pretty bad in many cases, and I know, you know, they try to do what they can, the guy who maintains that road to keep them clean and stuff. On our side, we have a swale where the water drains down through. I know it's very difficult to keep that open because of the vegetation in the area. There's a lot of invasives in the area. There's a lot of oak trees with all the oak leaves that gather up and fill it up quite a bit. I know the two catch basins right there at the corner of Ivy, on both sides of Ivy. One's on the corner of my property, one's across the street. Constantly out there trying to clean that. I mean, we know a storm's coming, and she's got me out there with the shovel, making sure we can clean those out. My other concern is on the wetlands as well, knowing that you know, there's quite a bit of area. My dog and I walk through there quite a bit, and you see an awful lot of the water that's in there. There's actually new residents inside that dam. There's a beaver hut that's just been built inside there. They're now living over that area. But, you know, knowing where the water goes in the lake and how it drains, a little concerned, you know, about where the wall's gonna go up, especially where there's that small cottages on the backside, and how that water's gonna affect it.
What do you mean by the backside, Ken?
The one on Ivy Road, there's a small cottage right next to,
10 Ivy.
on 10 Ivy. That's right behind this property that's on Ivy.
Vacant lot.
Yes.
It's right next to this lot.
Okay, in the back of the,
Yeah, as you go from Lake down Ivy, it's on the right. So my biggest concern will be that, as far as how the water's gonna flow down there, because that road, in fact, you know, watching a couple of weeks, you know, when the warm weather comes up a little bit, there'll be water running down that road. And then in the springtime, it's even just as worse as it comes down through there. And then just, you know, on that corner, I mean, you know, houses are getting closer and closer to the lake as well. You know, this would be the closest house ever built to the lake, brand-new house built ever since they started building houses down there in the 1930s. And, you know, it is right next to the retention pond, as Aaron was mentioning. And, you know, our concern is the lake is getting cleaner. I know we have all the water draining off that hillside that goes into those basins and so on, but that's what they're there for filtering. And just a little concerned about, you know, the groundwater in the area as far as how it's gonna move and what type of impact it's gonna have. Backing up onto my system, because when our system was put in, it was put in based on what was around the land in the area. And my concern would be if they're gonna build something up there, that's gonna change the water flow in the yard, change the water flow underneath the ground and so on. And I don't want that impacting my system either.
well, one of the things that, be fair to Ken brought up a good point about it being one of the closest built to the lake. The Conservation Commission did change their regulations about a year ago. And that was predicated on over Colonial Drive and Worcester Drive down, and I haven't gone over this, so I'm kind of shooting in the dark here, but down on the end, someone was going to build within 50 feet of the of the lake. I believe it was 50 feet. And supposedly they passed a requirement within, a year, I'd say year and a half, of now it's 100 feet, so that wouldn't happen again. But that's the lake, that's not
Yeah.
the wetland.
I think the point is, though, that basically it's not developed right now, so it's a new build. It needs a variance, and just based on everything we just heard on hydraulics, on the situation adjacent to a treatment wetland that was put in by the neighborhood, the concerns of the neighbors, the way that it might change the hydraulics, the potential for environmental and health effects, I feel pretty strongly that this is not an optimal place, or I shouldn't say optimal, that it's not deserving of a variance, just based on that information.
Anybody else? Would you want to express your view?
Fran Mazzoni from 18 Ivy Road, which is on the opposite side of, it's the dead-end side, that's what we refer to it as. And I think, too, it's also important for the board to understand that water going into that retention pond is also being fed from our side of Ivy Road, whereas since there's been a lot of development going on up Goldsmith Street, the brook that, I think originally it was known as a drainage easement, but now it's technically been deemed a brook, has grown astronomically to the point where I'm actually losing land because of the amount of water now that's been flowing and goes down and also goes into that retention pond. So if we take the property and infill it and put up retaining walls in this lot that they're talking about, it's going to add even more water in addition to the water that you're getting from this direction too, which we shouldn't lose sight of. And it's just exasperating the whole problem from my standpoint anyway. I mean, I've lost hedges and plantings and stuff like that in the backyard where everything's just, the brook is just getting bigger and bigger. And to Kenny's point too, I mean, we're very diligent about cleaning those catch basins, because if we don't, I ended up with the water in my basement. So it's a huge.
Where are you located again?
On the dead end side of Ivy Road, on 18 Ivy Road, if you come down Lake Drive, take a right onto Ivy instead of a left.
Oh, okay.
The house on the
After
left.
our
So you'd
house.
be near
I'm the only
his
house,
house.
I'm across from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the brook does come
The
through
brook
there.
comes, exactly, it comes through and covers me, and then I own a lot also in the corner of Lake and Juniper. Thanks. Lake and Juniper, where they actually, when they did the retention pond, they took some of my property there and they expanded it to allow better drainage to go into a bigger culvert.
Mm.
And that's what we end up maintaining when we know something's coming. Kenny and my husband are out there
So
with the
that-
rigs pulling out.
I've kind of forgotten. So the brook drops into a culvert.
Yes.
It goes underneath the road.
It
Goes
goes
under the road
Okay.
and into that retention
Okay.
pond, which then goes into the lake. So it's a very small congested area for, I think, what this gentleman's looking to do, and where's the water gonna go? If we have walls and infilled land and so on and so
And
forth.
also right in front of our house is the low spot across the street. So if that gets built up on that side, the next low spot's gonna be on the other side, between the other side of Ivy and Lake.
Right.
And I would not be surprised if that would turn into a new wetland area as
The
water
other
starts
property
to-
that I already own.
Yes, the one right
Right.
there in the corner, yeah.
Right.
Technically, when they submit a plan like Russ or Jonathan, they engineer the thing to handle that. And if the plan is engineered properly, we generally would have to pass it, And, but in this particular case, I don't have the problem with the plan. I think he can go in there and put his fill in and grade it off and all that stuff, but I don't know exactly where the wetlands is. That's what concerns me at this point. I don't know if I could,
Well, I think we've got to be,
take and go along with it. I don't know, what do you guys
It's
think?
technically a non-conforming lot,
May I excuse you?
Right, they're grandfather, the lots in the lake are grandfather.
so even though there's nothing ever built on it,
Right.
it's
Right.
still
Yeah.
grandfathered.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it runs all the way up, right up to where my land is.
Okay.
Before we make a decision, I'd just like to read something.
Yeah.
Thank you for your concern. This is a vacant piece of land upon which the applicant is looking to construct new home. The lot border a parcel where wetland as shown by Conservation Commission has not reviewed the wetland, nor has the applicant filed with the commission. Why don't we go in number one? Why don't you people have taken care of this particular, put an application file with the commission? Then you come in front of us again. So we leave as a discussion, not as a try to give you a
You
variance.
continue the hearing is what you'd continue the hearing.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's what they should do first. By the commission approving it, because at the end, our agent, I'm sorry that I might disagree with everybody, I don't have a problem with the request as long as the Conservation Commission approve the delineation and allow the grading as shown on the approval plan. As I mentioned at the start, I will recommend conditioning and approval of the review and approval of the wetland delineation by the commission. This is my point, okay? Now, we are a board, we're not an engineer, but I work in construction long enough, Peter and I, okay, so I don't want to say that I'm older than all of you, I'm only 39 years old, but I think I had a little experience.
Yeah, it's a hard
But the question is, we should give this gentleman a chance, okay? Because everybody might have something to say. But if you own a piece of property, would you want somebody else not to say, no, you cannot build it? Why don't we just go,
Well, so I understand what you're saying.
why don't we go phase by phase? First, let's see what the commission says. If the commission says that, no, you cannot build it, okay? If they say, yes, you may build it, go in front of the Board of Health again. Our agent will not deny it, a variance or an approval. So why don't we give this gentleman an opportunity? He might say, maybe I cannot build it. And maybe he can build it. And then he has to do it the right thing, because otherwise, he will be denied compliance of, he won't be able to sell it. Very simple. It's up to him now, because he has the game, and if he loses it, he's the one losing it. But let's not try to put him out of commission before anything happens. This is my view, and I will ask the board if they want to continue this, and then we'll see what the result will come. Okay? That will make everybody happy, okay? All right.
So I agree with part of what you've said.
Thank you.
So, and that is, I wouldn't be in favor of any conditional approval. I'd want to see what the feedback was from the Conservation Commission before we have
Okay.
further discussion and then make a decision.
Yeah, we'll just continue the
So,
hearing.
so continue, I think that's the absolute appropriate thing to do. Having said that, I'm in no urge to rubber stamp an approval just because the Conservation Commission says it's okay.
No problem.
Okay?
That's important.
I don't care that someone bought a piece of property with the intent to build something and then have found out later that they can't because of various things.
That's up to him to make it.
As the Board of Health, it is absolutely our position to make sure that anything that's going on under these sorts of things doesn't affect public health. So, and that may be independent of where the wetlands are. And the Conservation Commission may very well come back and say, no, you're outside that 50-foot, so you're fine with respect to that. But I'd like to see what they're going to have to do. So I don't think it's a rubber stamp, which is, I think, why we need to continue this and have this
But we
discussion
do have to have-
once they have the feedback,
Right.
and we have the feedback in writing. Because I
Right.
think Jim's being a little bit too aggressive here.
Well, we would like to invite him to come to the meeting.
I'd like to add something up, and this is, if you know, up by the end of Shake Lane, the three new houses are all close together. Well, that's some of the grandfather lots, but one of the reasons that happened was from the time that they first got their permits, the Conservation Commission changed what you could do within the buffer zone. So it forced one of those houses up, so they're all grouped three together there, you're very, very close. So that's an issue. You guys might say, oh, we passed this, and you get down, meet with conservation, they're saying, well, no, you can't do that now, these are new regulations. So I think John's right in the sense that I just soon continue the hearing, let's see what conservation says, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Thank you for coming.
Think so?
Question? Denise Banks, 10 Lake Drive. Understand, I agree with you, Gino, that if it was my lot, wherever it may be, that's my lot, I want to do what I should do. But I guess I'm a person that would think, can I sleep at night if I know I'm hurting the environment or something like that, if that's the case?
You're the
It's
kind
not
of-
that I want to build where I want to build.
You're the kind of
I
man
understand.
that you can count on.
I'm sorry?
You're the kind of person that you can count on.
Understood.
He does have a country.
Would we, the abutters, be invited to?
You may come anytime,
Or would we know about it, or?
Yeah, you'll be notified.
you'll be notified.
Okay, now, we were the only ones across that were notified. They were not, and they were not, being the Rudds.
They can come anytime.
But they did not receive a
Well,
letter
if-
from the other.
It doesn't really matter sometimes if you
Okay.
they receive it or not.
Okay.
If they are interested, everybody is welcome to come.
Well,
As
I don't
long
know
as-
when it is.
But I was gonna say, I think the concern of the abutters is not knowing what it is. So what's the process, having not had to go through this process myself, what's the process to ensure that abutters are aware of any hearing?
Right.
Because one of my concerns is, I don't know who the gentleman is owns the property right behind there, but, I know where that little cottage is and the one next to it. They're very close to where that piece of land is. And I just want to make sure that they're, aware of what's going on as well.
Yeah, I don't know,
I know that-
Peter, I don't know if
I
you
know
know,
the owners don't
what's the
live there.
process that abutters
Shelley will,
are,
Well, that's what it is, a butters.
Yeah, but I mean, how-
Across the road, you're not a butter, right?
You could
would
call,
you be kind enough, all of you who came here as a butter, to sign over there
Yes,
and put their telephone number
Yep.
and address?
And an
That
email
way,
address?
our administrator will be kind enough to address and let you guys know, and you can come, okay?
you can also call Michelle Cobley at the Board of Health in town and ask her what the process is. Maybe she can put your names, just as a backup
All right,
plan.
thank you.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming, I appreciate it.
Thank
You may stay because we love you.
Can I just say one more thing? On this one, so we have the Conservation Commission, but what I would like to see when it comes back in is wetland flagging by a
Yeah, we'll have to do
professional
that.
wetland scientist. So it'd have to be a certified scientist. And the other thing is, just as John just said, just because it's not in the buffer of the wetlands, doesn't mean that it would pass, because we're still talking about whether we want to give a variance to existing regulations beyond, who could sleep at night, a variance to existing regulations, given all the things that are going on with this site. So just want to say that.
Would they be using the same abutters list for the conservation hearing as they did for
Probably.
today's meeting?
No. This one that's filled to a lot line is the direct abutters, and it's got nothing to do with people across the street, but for a wetlands filing notice of intent, you have to notify all the abutters within 100 feet of the lot. So we would get a certified list from the assessor's office and then send out certified mail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Good night. Don't forget to put your name in there.
I want to thank all you guys. Believe me, from experience, I know what you go through. I did it for 6 years. Thank you.
No problem. We thank you for coming. Oh, you may, yes.
Before I go home,
You may, yes.
Yeah. No,
Thank you for coming.
keep looking for it. Get involved. Take my
You know what I
place.
did? I went
Keep asking.
Well, we're gonna have an opening.
Have a couple.
Yeah, Brad's gonna be off it.
I came down, I'm like, it's already gone.
Actually, surprised, I think Peter gave up on it. He's usually calling here, you know, let's make it anywhere.
Gave up.
I'm shocked this
I gotta wait till all the old yard guys.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, right. They keep coming back.
Another thing I'd like to let you know, usually it's 100 feet from the wetland.
Doesn't everybody
The
kind of
Board of
take it
Health
out the
has
hall?
jurisdiction to give variance up to 25 feet, just to let you know.
I would never do that.
Well, that's you.
I know, but
We are capable to do give variance,
Yeah.
because we did it before, and we had no problem.
These are the,
Gino, what's
We
your
got
hand on so we can finish up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we still have another discussion item, so if you guys want to chat,
Yeah, thank you, sorry.
that's all right.
Thank you for putting your name on. Good night.
I don't think anybody's here for the other.
Thank you.
looks like the place is empty.
Oops, sorry. No, I'm all set.
For
Yeah, I would
Foster.
have thought
Oh,
somebody would
yeah.
showed up for this. 63. So that's the only thing left.
One more? All right,
Well, it's just a discussion.
okay.
Let me see what I got here.
Let's see. Oh, boy.
Oh, is this the one that,
We're gonna get a Valentine's kiss.
Bedrooms. I didn't understand, I didn't understand what Jim was saying too.
How you doing? It's
He's
okay.
talking about the permit, then he says it's 20 years old. It's like,
Oh,
Jim,
no.
yeah, you read what he says.
Okay, recently the owner of the above mentioned property. Permit signed by the board was for 4 bedrooms. Was designed for 5 bedrooms. Installer will once allowed to submit plan for upgrade. Review the plan in question based on the tank and leaching area size and will agree to system install 5 bedroom. And then the conflict on the permit was
Let me get his things out here again.
do you want to see where this is? Because it's like in the middle. Would you like to see where it is? Does that help?
What's that?
Do you want to see where this is, 63
Right there.
Foster?
Yeah, I know where it is.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I just,
We know what cost it is.
What the hell did I do with Jim's things that he was talking about? I read it and I couldn't understand what the hell.
his memo itself?
Yeah.
Did you find it? Did you get it?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Sounds like he got a permit for a new system. The permit was signed by the board, was for a 4-bedroom house, but the plan submitted was designed for 5-bedroom, which he says it did.
Right.
But then he says, as to the conflict on the permit,
Yeah, that's
it was
right.
the application by the owner, which indicated the number of bedrooms that were in the house, 4.
Doesn't make any sense.
I was the primary person involved with the permit, but based on the assessor's records for the house, no Board of Health permit exists. In the plan submitted with the permit applicant, I don't have, where was it? He said something about, writing it down, 20 years ago.
I don't have a problem with the use of
He
this house.
doesn't feel comfortable changing the permit issued more than 20 years ago. I'm going, it sounded like they just issued a permit.
That's what I'm saying. I will not feel comfortable
Is
with
the
the
door
change of the
open?
permit issue more than 20 years ago?
Yeah, is the door open over there? Is there anything in your thing that shows the
Where?
permit or anything in your pile?
Copy law, no discussion. No, this is 12.
Gina,
I think
what's
they're
that
getting
thing?
ready to sell it and found out this problem, or?
I'm looking, 1 second. Addition
I have no
to-
idea.
to the
I'm not
system.
saying, we're just saying.
Yeah. See if there's anything in there. Put it back in, nice and neat. Where is
Nice
the,
and neat.
Did you sign that permit? That's gotta be signed.
What is this anyways?
You signed that one already, right? 1, 2, 3, no, you didn't sign it.
I don't remember,
So,
I don't think I was here for this one.
right, so the,
You don't remember?
I don't
That you
remember
were
this
not
one.
here
This is
probably?
all Title V
Chestnut.
testing.
so, what we have here is a permit that the Board of Health signed for a 4-bedroom house, but the plan submitted with that permit, or for that permit, was for a 5-bedroom house.
Yeah, I got that, but then it says, talks
Right.
about a 20-year-old permit on the bottom. I don't
Yeah.
understand that.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I know, I don't,
I don't get it.
I mean, even though it's 20-year-old permit, they can still change their mind or something?
well, I guess, so the permit's still valid, there's not a lifespan for a
Oh, yeah, they
permit?
run out 3 years,
So,
Every 3 years goes out.
yeah.
then why not just submit?
Extend it.
Yeah,
Sometimes, depending, we've extended some into like 4 years, but there was not that the system was working. They just couldn't get the final grading done because of the winter or something like that.
yeah, okay,
So your system's up and functioning, it's not something that's open
yeah.
and,
So, why not just,
but I'm not gonna do anything until I know exactly what's
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
So the
It's
only-
a huge house. I don't see, it's a regular big old colonial, it's got a wing on it.
It's
and
on
I know
Foster
there's
Street.
a couple
Yeah.
families
Nice house.
live there. It's good house.
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, he says it's clearly a 5-bedroom house and that the system so, there's a discrepancy about what's installed versus what the original permit was for. It sounds like this has already been
Well,
installed.
according, I don't know if it sounds like it, because he's saying by the looks of it, it's a 5-bedroom system.
It's a 5-bedroom system, it's a 5-bedroom house, and I would agree the system installed is sized to handle a 5-bedroom dwelling. So,
But
is
then he
the,
talks about a 20-year permit.
well, so that's what I mean, right, so the permit, the original permit, is that, so, help me understand how this works. You get a permit for construction or whatever it is, does that permit, and your construction's done, it's complete?
Your
Is that-
construction of your bed.
Your bed, whatever it is you're
Yeah.
talking about, whether it's an add-on to your house or a new
Right.
septic, upgraded septic system, that's complete. In the file, does that original signed permit just always stay there?
Yeah,
Okay, so,
We can find
so,
should be able to pull a file out
Yeah.
over there.
so I'm wondering if the house, and this is what we need to find out, because the reason why I'm sort of confused is why we're even discussing this,
Yeah.
right? So is it that they're gonna sell the place, and now they understand they've got this discrepancy, like they have a septic system that was installed that we didn't, that the
It doesn't-
board didn't sign the permit
Right,
for.
it doesn't.
So how do we
4-bedroom or
rectify
5-bedroom.
this?
Yeah, right.
So so if that's the case, and then Jim's saying, well, just include my memo that this is all fine, that it was just a snafu 20 years
Isn't he
ago.
asking, what he wants us to do?
Yeah, that memo, this memo basically just says,
Did you get that?
Take that.
I don't have the problem with the
I don't
use,
remember this one. I
with
don't
the
think I
use of
was
this
here.
house as a
Well,
5-bedroom
if you want to hear
dwelling,
and it doesn't really,
though I
just
would not
wanted
feel
to-
comfortable with
I was
changing the
refresh my
permit
memory.
itself.
okay,
I don't
even if
know
you
what
want to
date.
hear, it's.
So he
it's
just,
legal.
so
You
that's,
can-
so that's,
I think you're right, I think
You
someone
got
probably is looking to
You got
buy
three
it, and
anyway.
they
Yeah,
look through,
I don't
all the
remember this one.
records, and they said,
Doesn't
oh,
have
this
a
is
date.
only
Didn't you have
permitted for a
another one?
4-bedroom.
Just
and, and then their concern is,
That
what
one's
if I've got
tonight, so that's
a new owner's, like, what if I've got to replace a
Well, it's
septic?
apartments too, it's two.
Is it? Okay.
It's like,
I think.
2 units, like a
Yeah,
That's for tonight.
duplex?
duplex type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's an old
That's an old
house, so
one.
it's kind of like that
The
49,
one underneath, I think you signed it.
47 Foster Street that had 3
That's you,
Yeah.
man?
apartments in it.
Oak Road?
And we need some clarification, yeah, because
These
that's
are
what
old
it
ones.
seems
Okay.
like. And that, and then that Jim is just saying,
Where's the
you know,
date?
in order to, he doesn't want to put a new permit in.
14.
Well, until we find out, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna make a motion that we
So we need
table
to
that
sign
till
this
the
one?
next
Yeah.
meeting.
I thought
Yeah.
you had the permit already.
But the question is.
Pino, I'm
Yes,
gonna
sir.
make a motion that we table any discussion on
Yes, you will.
63 Foster Street till the next meeting.
And
Okay.
I second
And,
that.
Second?
All those in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right. Also gonna make the motion that we
Okay.
adjourn.
And I second that?
Second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question, though.